Brazil's president here for state visit. Figueiredo wins defamation suit against Chronicle. Guyanese man charged with murder in New York. And why the IMF is not our friend. I am Noriko Bulford, and this is Uncut News. Do you see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has arrived for an official visit. According to the Foreign Ministry, the two countries share a broad bilateral agenda covering issues such as infrastructure development, energy cooperation, trade and investment, health, agriculture and defense, and security cooperation. And these will be among the issues to be addressed by the two heads of state today. In 2018, the coalition government gutted the Judiciary's budget. In 2017, the Supreme Court submitted its budget proposal for the year 2018 to the Ministry of Finance for the sum of $2.75 billion Guyana dollars, but they only ended up getting approved for $1.87 billion, a nearly $1 billion shortfall. As a result of these shortfalls, in August 2018, the Supreme Court requested an additional $202 million to offset expenditures. However, even that was too much for the government, as they were only approved for $165.6 million on November 1st, 2018. The Supreme Court managed to get by slashing programs, scaling back operations, and reducing new hires. On Wednesday, it was announced that APNU parliamentarian Jermaine Figueira won his defamation suit against Guyana Chronicle. Figueira argued that on January 24, 2021, the newspaper published libelous accusations about him from Labour Minister Joseph Harman in an article titled Fraud and Criminality. Hamilton had accused Figueira of having received $5.8 million from the Sustainable Livelihood and Entrepreneurial Development Program to rear pigs. But instead of rearing the pigs, he had just pocketed the money, according to Hamilton. Well, instead of fact-checking or even asking Figueira himself, the Chronicle just ran with Hamilton's accusation that Figueira is a fraudster. Well, as it turns out, our boy Jermaine here is actually a twin. Shortly after the article was published, Guyana Times found out that it was actually the politician's twin brother, Jermaine Figueira, who had collected the money. Now, what Jermaine did with it, or how legitimate the request was, I cannot tell you, unfortunately. But at least for as far as Jermaine is concerned, Chronicle's lack of due diligence is his gain. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's car of the day. Currently on sale, this is 2016 Toyota Axio. It comes with Bluetooth, mug rims, new tires, TV, CD, stereo, fog lamps, electronic parking brake, back camera, and much, much more. Buy cash for $3.5 million, or pay down as low as $700,000 with around $68,000 monthly for 5 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit the showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Road Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lama Street, and tell them you get 34 this week. Sweet deal. This morning, an accident on the Nig public road in Quarantine claimed the life of Rajendra Karadu, the co-owner of Sharon's Halal Snacket in Albion, Berbice. The man was headed home from the mosque on his motorcycle when he collided with a green Toyota 212 at around 6 a.m. The female driver of the vehicle is reportedly in police custody. The police are currently looking for two men who robbed the 24-year-old soldier of his phone last night at his home in South Amelia's Ward, Linden. He told the cops that he was on his veranda when two gunmen attacked him. They both gun-butted him in the head and took away his phone and the keys to his motorcycle before shooting one round in the air. Despite having stolen the keys to the young man's motorcycle, they both escaped on foot. Over in the diaspora, a Guyanese man who was extradited to the United States 3 years ago has been convicted for the murder of a man in New York in 2011. 36-year-old Troy Thomas was found guilty of murder in the second degree. The court convicted Thomas for the shooting and killing of 20-year-old Keith Frank outside a South Richmond Hill house party in December 2011. According to trial testimony, Thomas got into a petty dispute with Keith Frank at a house party in South Richmond Hill, and the victim was just a few blocks away from his home when Thomas shot him in the chest. Sentencing has been set for June 17th. At that time, Thomas faces up to 25 years in prison if convicted. Thomas was actually one of the first Guyanese to be extradited for a crime committed in the United States. Do you own a truck? No, not the disease, I mean a real truck. Like DAF, International, Freightliner, Bedford TM, or Scammell. Then come get high-quality truck parts at the lowest prices at Powered Automotive. Visit them at Lot 1161 EE Eccles, or call them on telephone number 697-0171. Say big on truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. A 24-year-old man in Amelia's Ward, Linden, was arrested for reportedly beating his 5-year-old son for consuming an entire portion of Chinese food on Tuesday. However, the father was subsequently released on station bail after it was reported that he was suffering from tuberculosis. The young child was taken to the Linden Hospital complex for medical attention. He is now in the protection of the welfare officers. On a sadly related note, according to a study from the Latin American Public Opinion Project that was published in Starbuck News today, almost 62% of Guyanese normalize intimate partner violence and agree that physical violence between couples is a private matter which should be handled by the couple themselves or their families. In the May 3rd, 2022 report, which is titled Socialization Matters More Than the Circumstances in Predicting the Normalization of Intimate Partner Violence in the Americas, long title, and with that title, Guyana has the highest percentage of agreement with keeping intimate partner violence in the private realm of the 7 countries in the Americas they surveyed. And yet our government, private sector, and civil society seemingly continue to do nothing to stop this silent epidemic. Shame. Now for today's oil update. Appraisal drilling is underway at the Triple Tail 2 well in the Starbuck Block, as ExxonMobil continues to assess discoveries offshore Guyana. The drilling exercise will also incorporate the use of 27 vessels and is expected to conclude in June. The well site is situated approximately 104.3 nautical miles from the coast of Guyana and covers an area of 0.29 square nautical miles. The Triple Tail well was discovered in 2019. Take a look at this beauty being constructed in a gated community called Richmondville in Guyana. It features 4 bedrooms, 1 pool with 7,000 square feet of living space, along with modern amenities. Contact Sheriff Construction on 592-618-5702. Now for our stupid news of the day. You know what I think is stupid? Most of the arguments of people who are upset with JAGDEO for rejecting the IMF's proposal on how we should manage the oil and gas industry. Recently, the IMF recommended against Guyana forming a national oil company. Well, he responded by saying the IMF isn't going to dictate our economic policy. Well, this comment apparently ruffled some feathers, with some accusing him of not listening to good financial advice. Well, you already know I disagree with JAGDEO on a lot of his opinions, especially when it comes to good governance. But I do agree with him on the fact that Guyanese, and not the IMF, should be determining our nation's economic policy. Also remember, the IMF is not our friend. In fact, it's their fault we're even broke like this in the first place. It was their economic recovery plan during the Hoyt administration that wrecked our economy, devaluing our dollar from 2 to 1 to 200 to 1 over the course of a decade, slashing public funding and allowing foreign corporations to dominate the most profitable sectors of our economy, a situation whose effects are still felt to this day. So, disagree with JAGDEO all you want about his economic policies and a lot of other things in the country, but to support the IMF just because JAGDEO doesn't is pretty stupid. Now for our Uncut News Views Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events around the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it least was. Yesterday, I asked your thoughts about Arrival Day. Should the name stay the same or should it be changed? Dopamine said, well, Indians did arrive on that day, so I don't see a problem naming it Indian Arrival Day. Wanting to name it just Arrival Day is just condescending, if you ask me. There is always a big countrywide debate when it comes to anything Indian-related, period. Sorry for being so blunt, but it is what it is. You're absolutely right, and it only makes sense. I mean, come on, if folks arrived on this day, then it's Indian Arrival Day. I mean, no sense in really trying to whitewash it. Muhammad Sharif has a similar opinion. He says it is what it is, Indian Arrival Day. Aren't we a nation of many races, respecting each other and sharing our history, talking about freedom of expression? When we have to avoid expressing the truth to make some people uncomfortable about the fact, grow up and deal with it. Educate yourselves. As a nation of educated people, this is what we strive for. I agree with you 100%. In fact, it is by realizing our differences and appreciating them is how we become deeper and a more well-rounded society. Charlie Chalmers says, call it the right name, Arrival Day, because that was the day when East Indians came to Guyana. RC View Farm says, people enjoy the day off from work and school, so we don't care what you call it. We call it day off. Moving on. Cultural sensitivities aside, I think almost all Guyanese agree with you. We appreciate the day off. And finally, on a completely unrelated note, Dionarine Singh says, you are getting like Gordon Mosley. Dion Ryan, you're going to have to clarify a few things for me right here, because if you mean pre-2015 Gordon Mosley, I'll take it as a compliment. If you mean post-2015 Gordon Mosley, I take it as an insult. So, before we get to tonight's question, you can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn extra money at your business or to supplement your current hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking with Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. Now for tonight's question, I want to know if you have any questions for me, Noriko. So, with that, I want you to think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. And if they're really good, we just might make this a monthly thing. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, so check us out on Monday for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bulford saying, have a great weekend. And as always, don't drink and drive, or you'll end up on Monday's episode the hard way. Ha-ha! Good night, folks.